Welcome back to Jeff Green Live here at Citizen Television, talking about a very important topic, folks. Abductions have been happening left, right, and center. I tell you, there's been many deaths, many abductions, and unaccounted for more than 24, and they're still going on. As early as last Sunday, Maria Sarungi over there on Zoom, because of her safety, she was abducted in broad daylight, driven around up and down the city of Nairobi until she was let go because of an outcry, global outcry. And she was finally safe in the end, but still doesn't feel as safe as she should. In the studio, Irungu Houghton, Director, Amnesty International Kenya; Charles Owino, former spokesman of Nairobi, of National Police Services. Maria, we're talking before the break, and I was asking you, do you know why you were abducted? And were the abductors foreigners? Or could you tell, or no?
So if you will allow me a little bit to talk a little bit longer about the why, but very quickly I will start with the second question about whether I think there were foreigners or not. I definitely feel that the person who was sitting in front in the passenger seat, who actually wasn't very much involved in dragging me into the car, was the one who was getting out on the phone calls, based on the way that he was speaking to me and kept calling me by my name, speaking to me whenever, a few times, I think once or twice in Kiswahili. My conclusion was this person was not Kenyan. It is, again, as I say, I can't say conclusively. That one is the one person in particular. The other two restrainers, we're speaking what I conclude was Kenyan English. And of course, as I said, they said that they're police, although again, I know that they often, there's a lot of deceit happening in these kind of crimes, so I wasn't sure. But one of the things that I do know is that the way that they were conducting themselves based on the speed and based on one brief remark that I made, that, "Are you taking me to Tanzania?" That's when they turned and they say, "So you know that you did something wrong." And I said, "I didn't do anything wrong." So that gave me the conclusion that whether they were Kenyans, Tanzanians, or both, the mission was actually what I had concluded for the Tanzanian borders. Now, if you allow me just, 2 minutes, and I really felt, even though I was very hesitant to come to the show due to the fact that I'm a bit exhausted and I don't feel very strong mentally, but I really wanted to make a very direct point about why now, why me, and it's very important, I think, for Kenyans to understand. In Tanzania, there has been abductions, but we never get half as much attention on a global scale, but I also think on a regional scale, there is an overall impression that Tanzania is a very peaceful country. And what I've once told somebody is that it could come to a point last year where I felt that I was the health center or the 911 center for abductions in Tanzania. And that was because people don't have anywhere to turn. Again, I would like to clarify a little bit on my statement where I talked about Kenya still being safer than the rest of the regions, is primarily because of its people. We saw the Uber driver rush to the police to report, wasn't scared. The City Hopper driver blocked them. Afterwards, everybody on social media, Kenyans who didn't even know me, coming out. When later I was actually in the process going to the DCI, going to the hospital, with the assistance of Amnesty International and many other civil society organizations. I just realized what the safety network means. And allow me again a little bit to talk about two very quick examples. One example is about a case which got international coverage, which is the murder of a political opponent, Ali Kibao, who was taken off the bus by armed men, was found next day murdered. And I would like to say here that night when they took Ali Kibao, I received a message from his son saying, "Please help, my father has been abducted." And I've never felt so helpless at that point in time. I remember that I was quickly trying to organize to get a poster out and to tweet about it and to tell Tanzanians, please tweet about this. And Tanzanians are not very active on social media, very active on Twitter X, but not that much. And when he turned up dead, I felt very bad. And his son wrote me a message and said that he really didn't know where to turn, and the only person he could think of was me. And that is very painful. There is another case of which I feel very personal about, of a young activist, another Gen Z. He was very proud to be called a Gen Z. He actually had the occasion to travel to Kenya. He is, and I still want to speak in the present because I want to keep up hope, he is a great admirer of Kenya. He loved the whole process about the constitution. He was following very closely the Gen Z protests, and he also is a member of the political opposition. He was taken with two others, disappeared, never seen, but the court in Tanzania dismissed the habeas corpus case, which means that today there is nowhere for people to turn. Even if this happens while in Kenya, you still have the civil society, you have the courts, you have got the law society being functional and being meaningful. You also have civil servants who I think are still holding on and trying to keep up professionalism. Very quickly, I would like to appeal to one thing. Kenya needs to continue to do better and continue to be the beacon of democracy. And I'm saying this very passionately because I know for a lot of us who are coming from other countries, we want to feel safe in Kenya. We want to see the present day or any day government, the state, the people continue to argue about politics, argue about democracy, argue about whatever it is, but to ensure that it is done within the rule of law. So very quickly, because you want to know a particular reason, I was targeted recently by one of the government-sanctioned bloggers who was saying that specifically myself and another journalist, Eric Kabendera, we need to be eliminated, we need to be dealt with by the government. And there was a lot of talk about me being involved in one way or another to inspire people. So that was one, but two, this is an election year in Tanzania. There's a lot of other such cases, including recently a former opposition leader, Dr. Slaa, has been detained. He suddenly has disappeared in the jails. I can talk more and more, and I know maybe for Kenyans it's not necessarily relevant, but I'm trying to appeal that this needs to be a broader discussion about the region as well. And I'm really hoping very much that the government of Kenya understands the importance and the status of Kenya, not only for Kenyans, but also for the region.
Absolutely. And Maria, Irungu, if I could turn to you and just say...
You just talked to Irungu. And he has talked for too long.
No, but
we don't have a right to reply.
We just came from the break.
Yes, but before that he had talked.
So what do you want to say? What do you want to say?
Sawa, let Irungu talk. If the narrative is to weaponize Kenyans against government, let him talk.
No, now you have gone too far.
Irungu, let me ask you this. Kizza Besigye, abducted in broad daylight in the streets of Nairobi. Maria has just recounted what happened to her. Kenya used to be the safe haven of the region. What happened? What went wrong?
I mean, let's go further back. Let's go to 2021. Samson Tekle Michael picked off the
streets of Nairobi
in
out
Kilimani.
of his vehicle.
Less than a kilometer from this studio. Maurice Mabior picked and disappeared, renditioned back to the Blue House. 2 years later, he's then taken to court. We still don't have answers in terms of how he was taken out of the country. 36 Forum for Democracy, Ugandan opposition activists pulled out of a hotel in Kisumu, taken across the border and charged. Then we come to the Turkish 7. 4 refiled against the Geneva Protocols or the Geneva Convention that's been around for over 50 years or more. And they are taken back and essentially pushed into a military prison for a military-led court process. And then the government of Kenya says we were responsible. And it was part of a strategic deal or a strategic relationship that the Kenyan government and the Turkish government have. So I think we need to look at this in a historical context. We have, of course, now Kizza Besigye, not just an opposition figure, but a 4-time presidential candidate. who flies through, flies to Kenya through JKI, comes through legitimately, has a ticket to return, and 2 days before he's due to go back to Kampala, masked men grab him in Riverside here in Nairobi and drive him 700 kilometers across probably about 35 to 50 different roadblocks and the border post, and then he's placed in a military jail. So, Maria's experience has been really, I think, a culmination of many human rights violations. And those are just the foreigners, if I can use that word, who are on our soil, either looking for protection or are simply visiting. When it comes to the Kenyans themselves, I think, we heard the case of Macharia Gaitho, who is abducted while in a police station, a place that he had gone for sanctuary. He is grabbed again and taken, and within a couple of hours we have a statement from the police saying that, oops, sorry, wrong Gaitho.
Mistaken identity.
Mistaken identity. So, and then the president has spoken a couple of times, and the most recent one I think was the most important one, where he said, I have heard you, when he was speaking to Raila Odinga, I have heard you, I will bring this to an end. And within 1 week, 5 human beings are not allegedly released. They are released into the public, not taken back to their homes or where they were abducted, but essentially some of them even dumped 100 kilometers from where they lived. So I think there is a clear pattern of enforced disappearances. And it's important to, maybe just on the legal perspective, and I'll stop because otherwise Charles will tell me I'm talking for too long. But it's important to recognize that abductions are only part of the process. Under the International Convention against enforced disappearances, it is described as cruel and inhumane punishment. It is not just the detention, it's not just the blindfolding, it's not just the deprivation of water and food, it's not just the constant interrogations or the stripping of the abductees, like we've heard from Bernard Kavuli, that he spent a lot of time naked in a cell. Just humiliation, really, that we're seeing. And I think what we have to argue is that if we cannot see justice and accountability in our courts and from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and our DCI, then unfortunately we're going to start looking for regional and international courts to be able to get justice.
Charles Owino.
Yes. Number one, I'm happy that Maria still believes Kenya is the safest heaven in the region.
This is relative, Charles.
Yeah, no. And that is why she cannot go back home. She's here. If she felt threatened, she would have gone back home. So she understands what's taking place. But that is not the case. There are a number of issues that I want us to discuss. Patriotism to our country. 2 mistakes don't make a right. What I'm saying is that we must be cognizant of the fact that we look at what has happened in the regions. We should try our level best not to radicalize Kenyans against a legitimately elected government. I just saw a senior politician saying that they should go to State House, Kenyans should go and remove the president. That one is criminal in itself. Thinking that you can, not even thinking, you can do it. They did it in Sudan. People got excited. If you remove a president from office in a manner that is not constitutional, the same group will start fighting.
Yeah.
We will fight for 10 years, for 7 years.
Or 20.
Children who are joining PP1 now, in 10 years, they shall have not gone to standard 2. We will be backward. And that is why we say we must be very careful. And my plea to my colleagues who are actively in service is that they must remain firm to discipline. Law and order must be followed. They should not fall into the trap of politicians who want to radicalize, who wants to incite Kenyans against government. And the only way to do it is not what I'm hearing here, abductions, is to arrest people, take them to custody, put them to interrogation, and to question. And I can assure you, the security agencies are going even to be much more firm going forward. I may not...
Are you warning or are you assuring?
I'm assuring. And I want to tell you, Jeff, that this country belongs to all of us. And let us not lose sight that we have a group of politicians who are so excited, who are trying to radicalize people. I said, two mistakes don't make a right.
Two wrongs
don't make a right.
Yeah.
And that is why we must be very careful as a country. Literally, we are the only country around, and maybe Tanzania, that we have not been subjected to civil wars, that we have been carrying out our elections peacefully and changing regimes in the right way possible. And we must also protect our intelligence services, because if anything happens, if there's a terrorism act, if there's Shakahola you are talking about, the first question usually is, where is national security intelligence?
Absolutely.
So we must make sure that we don't radicalize people against our security agencies. And if there is a problem, as a family, we must discuss it family. And that is why I said, yes, I don't know so far the reason why the minister's son could have been picked, what he was being interrogated on. I said allegedly because I have not been in contact with the Director of Intelligence to know, was he truly holding this man? But I want to believe what the minister said, that his son was held. He cannot just be making noise. But there are procedures for doing everything. When you are a cabinet minister, you know, our unity is held on a very thin line. And persons of that level, there are things I cannot say, even if I know. I've not totally left active service, and therefore I've not signed.
So you swore an oath?
No, and therefore I've not signed my last oath. As you retire, there's an oath you sign, which you say, whatever you saw, whatever you had, you will not say. Why do you say that? It's because of national unity. And we should be fighting to move the country forward. You know, persons in opposition are always government in waiting. But we must be sure, we must make sure that we don't radicalize the youth, we don't radicalize the population, we don't put people against government in order to get shortcut into governance.
Okay, Charles, let me ask you this real quick.
Yes.
Are there rogue elements in the NIS? Are there rogue elements in the police? Are there rogue elements who are acting unilaterally?
I want to believe that we always believe that there's no market without a madman. Persons in security services cannot be 100% perfect. There are people who can be in security services and they can be hired by individuals to go and do something which is not right. We have seen officers taken to court for causing murder. They were hired by individuals to cause murder. But the question only arises on issues of accountability. Every time there is murder or something done, or even a police officer is involved, the public will never make noise if actions are taken appropriately. What I know, there's a lot of forensic investigations going on. And I can assure you, Jeff, in a week or 2 weeks' time, the government will be able to put forth open conversations between politicians, planning on how to radicalize, on how to incite, on how to overthrow government. And what we are saying is that once security agencies come up with these facts and they lay them bare on what other individuals are planning, then it will be very easy now to discuss some of these things with the public.
Okay.
What we are talking about is persons who could have been abducted. It's my humble...
Who could have been? Who were?
Or who were abducted. It's my humble request that they should come forward and record statements.
But they are.
And give
they
their
are with Irungu. They're doing it with Irungu.
Yes,
maybe
but
the next time we go to this, I'll call Giles.
No, just
Thank
a minute. There are many. Irungu, how many have you so far taken to record statements? So because the son of the minister it's his father who recorded statement, I think, on his behalf. I don't know whether he has gone to...
The DCI requested the father because of the statement.
Because the father had made an allegation.
Correct.
Yes.
I mean,
but
it is our view
it would be
that actually in those abductions, they were being forced to make statements.
No, what I'm saying is, I've said let us be very careful. And I'm calling upon the security agencies, our head of intelligence and our DCI, to move with a lot of speed and let the public get to know the truth on some of these issues. Because when we get the truth, let me tell you. The
truth will set us free.
When we get the truth, it will set us free.
Okay, Irungu, you have spent a lot of days, or rather a lot of hours at the DCI on Cambu Road.
Yep.
A lot of hours. What are these kids being forced to say? What are they doing? I mean, how are they being treated?
During their abduction or when they go to...
After, at the DCI.
We have seen probably two sides I guess they have seen two sides of the policing function. The side that they saw on 2 days ago. This is the family of Billy Mwangi, this family of Kibet Bull. They saw courteousness. The officers received them well. They took the statements. They were there for about 2 hours, and they made their statements. I think the point that's being made by Charles is an important point. I think, first of all, let's agree that this is a political problem, not a criminal justice problem.
Yes. True.
Right? The problem is in the politics.
Yes.
And the second one is that we must call on all law enforcement officers, whether they are intelligence officers, they are regular police officers, they are APs, or any part of the legal criminal justice system, whether they're prosecutors or even judicial officers, that they swore an oath of office to be fair, to be just, and to uphold the law. That's the conscience that we need to see showing up now. And let me just say that half a truth is often an entire lie. So it's not just not saying the truth; it is hiding the truth. It is massaging the truth that actually creates the lies and the deceit that we're seeing. I would really hope that at a time like this, given that we have had the revelations, given that we have had the testimonies of these very brave young people who should never have been subjected to this kind of violence, that we would have almost like a Damascus moment, where Saul, who spent most of his time trying to incriminate Christians, would see a blinding light that would essentially turn Saul into Paul. Right? And I don't think it's just at the head of state level. I think it is at all the levels. Because where those young people are being held, there are human beings who swore oaths to protect and to serve all. And the question that we have to ask is how is justice being served? Even if you're aggrieved by cartoons, even if you're aggrieved by artificial intelligence generated images, how is justice being served? By essentially locking up people and not giving them the opportunity to defend themselves in a court of law. So I think we have to say that Amnesty can do what it can. What I fight for in this country is I really fight daily for a country that you, Charles, Jeff, Irungu, all the people watching this, we can be proud of this country. The country that is described to us by Maria. That's the country we have to fight for.
What is disappointing me, Jeff?
Yes.
Is that we should be sensitive to what we call basic and minor, calling them cartoons, calling them drawings.
But you can't have a thin skin, Charles. You can't. If you're a leader,
but there's one thing which we must agree on. We must accept that a president is a symbol of national unity. We must equally accept that when you draw the president and put him in a coffin dead, Jeff, it's not an ordinary thing.
Trump is being ridiculed every day.
Putin,
you name it. Yeah.
Listen,
come on,
listen,
man.
Listen, Jeff. I am not saying that. I am not talking about reaction on what has been done. I'm talking about the action itself must not be encouraged. We cannot say.
But does it deserve?
No, we cannot say
Mm.
that communities. First of all, before we come to abductions, can we condemn misbehavior from young children?
Charles,
let us be honest.
You can't stop these kids from doing what they're doing.
We are not saying we stop. We are saying we must tell them they are not right in doing
No,
that.
Charles.
So,
As much
so,
as, look,
so you tell them by abducting them?
no, how do you,
Charles,
how
you
do
and I
tell that is the cause of abduction?
Yeah,
If
no,
somebody was arrested.
No, they were abducted
and
for that reason, because the line of questioning
Yes.
was only about that.
Correct.
was only?
Only about
Yeah, the cartoon, the
cartoons,
silhouettes.
and so on.
Yes.
But, you know, Charles,
but my
we are age
question
mates.
is- no,
we are
my-
age mates. Let me just go there for a minute. We are age mates.
Yes.
Do you remember when we used to go to the men's urinals?
Yes.
And people would be writing questions, writing comments there, and we would say, you would see things. I never
but
did
you
it.
see-
We would see things that says, you know, what we would like to do to the headmistress. That man is like this. That boy is like that. You know.
No,
We did this and we laughed and we left the toilet knowing that it was just...
Let us agree on one thing.
It was left in the toilet.
It was
us-
like, yeah,
let
what
happened in the toilet
stays in the toilet.
Let us agree on one thing. You know, we just agreed that every market may have a mad person.
Correct.
It's another
Are
way
you
of
getting
putting
me?
that.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is, before we exaggerate or before we make a lot of noise, you know, it is said that if you don't correct a small crack, then your wall will come down, and reconstructing the wall becomes a problem. There are many, many other issues. Leave about the children. I've just told you, a senior politician has said, we do what is unconstitutional. We can remove a president from State House. A senior politician saying, join us, saying those who are still in government, government must run. And we must agree, Rungu, when something is wrong, let's all agree this is wrong. But let us not weaponize Kenyans. And I'm still coming back to what we said, that at the level of a cabinet minister and the pronouncements made, it's not fair. Especially if you have gone to the head of state and out of confidence, he has called an officer and the officer has admitted, I have this person.
So now you believe the story.
No. I'm saying,
Now you believe the story.
I'm not saying
You're saying it was alleged earlier on.
No. Jeff.
Come on.
Jeff.
Charles.
I respect you.
Nguruwe
I've just,
hujikaranga
no.
na nini?
Mna mafuta yake. No. But I've said this, and listen to me very carefully. At my level, I said it's an allegation because I don't have a proof. In law, we say a fact is anything, state of things, relation of things, capable of being perceived by senses.
Yeah, but they also say the law is an ass. Let's take a break. Maria, are you still with us?
Wachana na Maria.
Maria bado
mambo
wako?
ya nyumbani.
Hapana. Maria ako hapa?
Maria anazungumza mambo ya Tanganyika.
Angalia huyu.
I thought we were age
Tanganyika.
mates. That one is much earlier.
Excuse me. Yale amezungumza mbeleni.
Yes.
Ilikuwa abduction yake.
Correct.
Kutisha sisi na Kiswahili hapa.
Lakini baadaye
Maria atatutwanga sisi wawili.
No.
Na ataanza na wewe.
Ataanza na wewe.
No. Kwanza mimi ni Mjaluo. Kiswahili si mdomo chetu.
It died
So
somewhere.
it doesn't matter. Even if I break it,
Yes.
I'll be happy.
Maria, unasikia?
Lakini
Nasikia, lakini na mimi ni Mjaluo wa Tanzania. My father is Mjaluo wa Tanzania pia.
lakini Wajaluo wa Tanzania wanazungumza Swahili sanifu. Yeah.
Lakini wa hapa? Ile broken. We're going to take a break, come back. We've got a magic wall. There's lots of comments coming from folks across the country, across the region, across the world. We're going to get to that. And Maria, I want to ask you a question when I come back before I forget in my head. You went to get your hair done on Sunday. Pole sana, you couldn't get it done, but you still look okay. But still, I mean, going out of your home, going outside right now, how do you feel? Do you feel, I mean, everyone knows you now, but also you could be watched, some people could be watching you. I want to know how you feel about that. Okay, stand by. My goodness, what a conversation. This is important, and we've got to keep going. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TVK. The hashtag is JKLIVE. JKLIVE, 6 break. We'll be back in a moment.